Well, I can start it again. Well, Carl's here. It must be showing up on the main page. It says it's on Road to Liberty 2.0 token.
My little girl is always getting into something. That's why we use new Tide Hygienic Clean.
Dad, I went exploring.
You look like you were in a swamp.
I was under the porch.
Now I'm more worried about what I can't see.
There are critters and mud and magical creatures.
Good thing Tide Hygienic Clean removes the
No, I
visible
didn't.
and invisible dirt.
I'm going to the aquatic kingdom.
Have fun. If you've got to be certain it's clean, it's got to be Tide Hygienic Clean.
Probably.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Token and Hobbs Show, a Road to Liberty podcast on the Think Liberty Network. I'm so glad that you could join us here on a Tuesday night live at 9 p.m. Central, or 9:10 p.m. Central, technically right now. Well, we are so glad to have you as we go down this road to liberty. I am your host, Token, and my frazzled partner in crime over there, Mr. Dustin Hobbs. What's up, Mr. Congressman? What's going on?
Oh, you know how it is out here in D.C. doing the work of the people.
How are those lawsuits going for you? You think you're gonna get any judges anywhere to overturn any voter counts?
I made some winks and a few raised eyebrows at Amy Coney Barrett, so maybe she'll put aside her good Christian leanings and allow me to seduce her.
Oh man, well, what a catch that would be. I mean, I think we all secretly have the hots for Amy Coney Barrett a lot more than leftists like to pretend they had the hots for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I don't think I believe them.
No.
Absolutely, that lady was just dust. I think if you placed a hand on her, she would just poof out of existence. That's probably what actually happened, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
like someone went to give her a high five, and she just turned into dust.
I remain convinced Coney Barrett is actually time traveling Julie Borowski from the future. So
That would make an insane amount of sense, actually.
I haven't seen them in the same room, so let's Just stick with that one.
I never have either, but we got a good show for you guys this week. It's the beginning of December. We're going into the Christmas season. Hope you guys are all preparing for that. I hope you guys are all ready for the same exact fights that you had over Thanksgiving to start all over again now that it's leading up to Christmas. Just get ready for it. All the same people who are telling you, hey, if we just lock down now, we can save our Christmas. They're going to be saying the same thing now because guess what, dudes? It's never enough. There can never be enough lockdowns. There can never be enough restrictions. There can never be enough irrationality and totalitarianism from our various state governments around this country. It's kind of funny, though, because they keep a lot of these COVID Karens keep using the same tired out arguments like, well, if you just lock down now, we can save X, Y, and Z in the future. You wouldn't want to lose X, Y, Z in the future, would you? And I'm just sitting here like, dudes, I didn't listen the first time. I'm not like you're saying, guy, if you just sacrifice this now, we can save that thing in the future, right? Don't you want that? I'm like, no. You might lose that thing in the future, right? That thing that you're looking forward to, you might, not me. I didn't stay home for Thanksgiving. I'm not staying home for Christmas. I'm not going to stay home for New Year's either. So it's you guys, all you lockdown Karens are the only ones that are losing anything. So, oh well,
yeah,
I'm not going to cry for you.
The other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is people saying like, oh, well, this would all be over now if you COVIDiots would have just done the right thing to begin with. And I'm just like, oh, bless your heart, you sweet summer child. You think this is going to be temporary. I think it was H.L. Mencken that said that there's nothing so permanent as a temporary government program.
That line of thinking doesn't even make sense. Like, do you honestly think that if everybody had stayed at home in March, that we wouldn't be having lockdowns today? But guys, here's the basic fact. You can lock down. If everything locked down for a month and you had 0 new cases, the second you let people out, cases are going to skyrocket because the virus didn't disappear. It didn't stop existing. It didn't fly off into space. It's still out there, right? Mm-hmm. It didn't cease existing. So once you let up on lockdowns, yeah, cases are going to go up. Big shock there. So this reason that, oh, if we had just all done the right thing back in March, we wouldn't be in this situation now. Like, bullshit. Of course we would be. Even back then, we all acknowledged that the goal wasn't to destroy the virus. Back then, we were all saying 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Remember that? That was the goal. It was never 2 weeks to eliminate the virus. But we've gone so far down this rabbit hole that the standard now is, oh, we can't have any new cases, period. Yeah. Like, sorry, I'm not going to fucking put my life on hold indefinitely so that you guys can feel better about yourselves and so that you can continue to break promises.
Yeah, they're constantly moving the goalposts, and it completely ignores about like 170 years worth of virology knowledge. The whole flatten the curve thing that they're talking about is a concept known as Farr's law, if I'm not mistaken, that all infectious diseases and pandemics follow a curve, a bell curve, where start at the beginning, and then you have a spike in cases, and then as everybody gains immunity, and the people who were going to die anyway die off, and then it kind of goes down. When they talk about flattening the curve, they're not talking about, lessening the damage. They're just talking about lessening the damage short term and spreading it out over a longer period. And it's the same number of people who would have died. They just would have died over a longer period of time.
Right. Like the whole idea was to not overwhelm the hospital systems. Like that was the entire thing. Right. Like people, I guess, forgot that. I don't know. It just seems really stupid now because, like you said, the standard keeps moving. It's never been consistent. And with each new wave of lockdowns, it seems like politicians are being politically motivated to, like, the default position now is to lock things down, whether or not the specific measures being put in place make any sense whatsoever. I mean, even Anthony Fauci said that there's no risk in schools. They're not a vector of transmission. Like, if you open schools up, you're not seeing a lot of spread of COVID there. That's just not a thing. And yet, what do we see across the country? People are continuing to fight opening schools up. And what did we see from the Chicago's Teachers Union a few days ago when they tweeted out that the fight to reopen schools is an example of sexism, racism, and misogyny?
Yes.
This is the kind of bullshit that our educators, quote unquote,
Indoctrinators,
are putting out there in order to avoid going to work. And the funny thing, they're still getting paid. They're still getting paid. It's just, the thing about it is that so many people rely on the school system so that they can go to work and have a living.
Yeah.
So many people rely upon it that when you suddenly go, oh, we're going to do distance learning. Well, that doesn't solve the problem of parents not being able to go to work now. Right? But of course, the default is that those parents shouldn't be going to work anyway. They should be staying at home. So, of course, people don't seem to give a shit about that. And it's not just the schools. Like, California just banned outdoor dining again. We talked about this last week when one of their health officials in LA decided to go to an outdoor restaurant the day before they were closing it down. But there's no reason. Here's the thing. There's no reason to ban outdoor dining. There's no reason to do it. There's no reason why you can't go to a restaurant. And even if you're like 6 feet apart, wear a mask when not eating, you can do all that. But to just shut it down completely, there's no reason for it. There's no rationale. It's just government being like, we're going to implement these rules to make us feel better and to make you feel better. And fuck all those small businesses who are going out of business. Fuck them, because our friends in Hollywood, we're going to let them stay open. Our friends in Silicon Valley, they're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Our friends over at Amazon, their stock is going through the roof. All these giant mega corporations that had a lot of money before the pandemic, they no longer have to compete with the mom and pop shop down the street. Right? They no longer have to worry about those downtown stores. Because guess what? If you're locked in your house and you can't go to the store for your goods, where are you going to buy them from? You got to buy them online. You're going to buy them from Amazon, right? You're going to spend all your time on Netflix or Hulu or HBO. So those people are making a killing during the pandemic, right? All these big tech companies that make their living online, they have no problem making money. They have no problem staying in business. They're not going out of business. All these people who have lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and have lobbyists at the various state capitals, they're not worried. You, Mrs. Saloon owner, who just got her shop shut down and can't open up, you're screwed. You, Mr. Restaurant owner, who can't pay his staff anymore, you're screwed. You're the non-essential. You're the guy whose well-being is not important enough for the government to take into consideration. That's the real tragedy of these lockdowns.
Dining and exceptions for Hollywood. I heard a thing this morning when I was listening to my various podcasts. A woman who owns a restaurant in California had backwards to adhere to all of the ever-shifting standards that they have, up to the point where she had set up a outdoor tent awning thing to cover up her outdoor dining so that, you know, if it rained or something, people could still frequent her restaurant and still outdoors. And now with the government shutting down outdoor dining, she's completely shit out of luck. And then this morning, or maybe it was yesterday morning, a movie production company set up a mess hall area literally across the street from her in a lot.
It was
with-
NBC that did that.
Yeah, and much the same with the tent, the awning, or whatever. And she's like, I can't make a living, I can't run my business, and then they set up this slap in my face across the street. She's like, what is this? It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. Like, make believe is essential. That's what they're telling us here. That, yeah, making make believe TV shows and movies, that's essential. But your ability to keep your home, to pay your bills, to feed your kids, that's not essential.
Yeah. And you know what? It's one of the rare instances where I think that government spending would be warranted, because if they're going to shut your business under threat of throwing you in jail or levying fines against you, they should at least give you the money necessary to keep a roof over your own head. Because and we're not going to reimburse you for our stupid little rules. That's like,
Yeah.
feathers is going to come out real fucking soon.
Yeah, they're essentially taking money away from you. This is no different from them simply stealing from you. That's what it is. They are preventing you from gaining an income. They're preventing you from making a living, and they're doing it by force of arms. They're threatening you in order to prevent you from making a living. That's theft, and yeah, you are owed reimbursement for that. Right? They might as well come take your house directly. At least then they would have to pay you for it. Carl goes, my OnlyFans account is doing horribly. Send me the link, dude.
I wonder if anybody has started an OnlyFans account and it's just been like pictures and videos of a fan. Like
OnlyFans. And they're just posting
oscillating.
pictures.
Yeah, oscillating fans and ceiling fans and cooling fans on a computer tower.
OnlyFans. That is too much. That is too much. I'm going to start an OnlyFans, and I'm just going to post memes to it.
Well,
like gotcha, bitches.
knowing the millennial humor and OnlyFans page that was nothing but like actual legitimate fans would probably make gangbusters money.
I mean, maybe. I want to talk about this article that I read in the Washington Examiner that's titled "New York is seriously running stings and fining bars for not serving enough food." And this whole article is essentially about how undercover agents are going into New York bars and restaurants in order to ensure that they are serving the government mandated serving size with drinks there. But in case you don't know, in New York City, you are not allowed to simply serve alcohol. You need to serve food. And you can't just serve food. It has to be substantial enough to meet the requirements of the government. Right? So here's what they were requiring. Patrons in bars would order a drink, and the bar would give them a little pint-sized glass of vegetables. Oh, hey, little guy. It's mini Hobbs.
Yeah.
The Token Hobbs and Mini Hobbs show. That's what we're running here today. But yeah, they would give these pint-sized glasses of vegetables with every beer someone would order, just to stay within the guidelines of New York City COVID laws, right? But over time, they realized that they were wasting a lot of food. And with a lot of food pantries around the country dying for food, it seemed pretty wasteful to have to throw out pints and pints and pints of vegetables every time someone ordered a beer. So what they started doing was simply giving 1 pint of vegetables to a customer when they ordered a beer, and not giving a new pint with every beer. So these undercover agents went to this bar in New York City, saw this happening, and decided to fine the bar for the crime of not wasting food.
Didn't I talk about this last week?
We talked about how sort of, but this had popped up in the last week too. It's just another example of the ridiculousness that we're going through right now.
Yeah, I remember I talked about a bar owner who cut back on the size because he was tired of spending money on the food and then wasting the food and he got hit with a $15,000 fine. But in awesome fashion, the county controller, I guess, is responsible for the payment and levying of these fines or something like that. So here comes this hero in, and he says that he's going to set up, because it's completely within his jurisdiction as to how these fines are paid. He is setting up payment plans with anybody who gets hit with one of these fines, and people who get the $15,000 fine have 100 years to pay it off, which comes down to like $12 a month. And I guess some of the legislators or your typical bureaucratic busybodies are pissed off at him, and he's like, what are you going to do? It's my area, and I'm going to say that this guy that got hit with a $15,000 fine, he's got 100 years to pay it off. It's like 20 years for anything under that.
Like, you remember that how Cuomo a few weeks ago was calling sheriffs in the state dictators for not enforcing his dictates?
Yeah,
it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just happening in New York. In California, they're doing this too. So some upstate county sheriffs are saying, hey, all these new COVID restrictions that Gavin Newsom is putting in place, we're not going to enforce that. And they're insane, the restrictions. You can't even go for a bike ride in California. You can't leave your house, period. And then people wonder why no one's listening to these lockdown orders, why no one seems to be taken seriously, why COVID fatigue is setting in. I think the answer is quite obvious, is that your irrational and arbitrary rules make no goddamn sense, right? Rules should be rational, right? They have to be, because otherwise they won't be obeyed. And that's exactly what you see, but people are not obeying irrational, arbitrary rules. And good for them. They shouldn't. So
yeah, it's that, and people are just they're seeing a stark difference between what their public officials and the news is telling them and what they're witnessing in their everyday life. I'm not seeing dead bodies in the street. I'm not seeing people lined up in the hallways of the local hospitals moving out the door. I'm sure it's bad in some areas, like New York City's nursing homes, but for the most part, the second wave of Plague 2.0 is hitting us, and grandmothers are dropping dead willy-nilly left, right, and center. It's like, no, I'm happening. And it comes to the point of being are we being lied to? And people don't like being lied to, especially when those lies directly impact them, like shutting their jobs down, or muzzling their children, or keeping their children working and having some income for their family has to stay home and watch their kids because the teachers are too hyped up on their own propaganda to go to fucking work.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that leftist talking point that no human is illegal. Well, no job is non-essential.
Right.
There's no such thing as a non-essential job. If you go to your job to put food on your table, to keep a roof over your head, to keep gas in your car, if your job does that, it's an essential job, and I don't give a shit what any politician says. Okay, well, we'll leave the COVID talk there because, my God, we've been talking about COVID for weeks now, and it's getting fucking old. Hey, we don't like the lockdowns. There, I just summed up the first half hour of the Token and Hobbs show today. I want to talk about something a little bit more hilarious. So this is an article in The Federalist titled FBI, Communist China Spy Infiltrated California Politicians, including Russia hoaxer Eric Swalwell. Now, you all remember Eric Swalwell. He was that smooth-brain politician that suggested that any sort of armed resistance against the U.S. government would be useless because the government would just nuke them.
Yeah, Nukes McHairdo over there.
That was Eric Swalwell suggesting that the U.S. government would simply nuke anybody trying to resist their orders, which I'm really looking forward to Gavin Newsom dropping a nuke on restaurants that refuse to close down. I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen. But let's get into this article, which is all about how a Chinese spy slept her way into being close to various politicians in California in order to gain influence over them and help guide their policies in a way that would be more favorable to China. So the story goes, a Chinese spy cultivated deep connections, no pun intended there, with U.S. Democratic politicians for years, including Representative Eric Swalwell of California, to send political intelligence and personal information back to Communist China, according to a report by Axios. Axios reporters spoke to U.S. intelligence officials and former acquaintances of the spy, Fang, or Christian Fang, to outline how, under the direction of China's Ministry of State Security, one of the country's primary spying agencies, she collected private information on U.S. bureaucrats, including those in California's Bay Area. According to U.S. intelligence officials and a former politician between 2011 and 2015, Fang socialized, networked with Representative Judy Chu and then Representative Mike Honda, campaigned for now Representative Ro Khanna, volunteered for Bill Harrison and mayor of Fremont, California at the time, fundraised for people such as Representative Tulsi Gabbard, and in some cases developed romantic or sexual relationships with politicians to gain intelligence and send it back to her handlers who were believed to be stationed in mainland China. So that's the thing.
So after 3 or 4 years of Eric Swalwell wagging his finger at Trump about foreign engagements and colluding with foreign governments, he's over here sleeping with a Chinese spy.
Now, see, I don't know if it was him specifically that this Chinese Fang was sleeping with, but I'm not saying it isn't. It very well could have been. Now, he denies it. He denies ever having seen her in the last 6 years, but you know, it's Eric Swalwell. This is the guy that wants to that would have no problem nuking rural America. I have no doubt that he would have no compunctions about banging some Chinese spy
and telling her everything that she wanted to know.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it. They're smoozing up to California politicians, and they're doing it somewhat because they want an in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Chinese interests on the West Coast, right? They want an in on Silicon Valley. They want to be able to control information that's getting into China. Hell, they want to control what these companies allow to be said in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not make any illusions about China. China is a totalitarian nation. And totalitarian nations don't like that there are countries outside their borders that allow their citizens to make Winnie the Pooh jokes about their leaders.
Yeah.
They don't like it. So they send hot Chinese girls over to the left coast to sleep with Democratic politicians so they can insert individuals
Giggity.
within their staffs.
Giggity.
It's all a bunch of nonsense. I mean, yeah, we went through this for 4 years about fucking Donald Trump apparently being a Russian spy, and he's gonna give this country up to the Russians. Blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, here's Eric Swalwell smoozing up to a legit Chinese spy.
Yeah,
you can't make this shit up.
Oh yeah, like I said, man, it's classic projection. He has been doing exactly what he's been wagging fingers at for years, and I wouldn't about the gun control issue if he didn't get caught doing what Leland Yee. He was like one of the biggest gun control proponents in California, and the motherfucker's sitting in jail right now for selling RPGs to the triads. So, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked on Eric Swalwell's door to subpoena some information, and he's in there milling out 80% lowers, doing lines of blow off of a milling machine or something.
Yeah, him and Hunter Biden should be best friends, from what I hear. This is the part that gets to Swalwell. Fang developed a relationship with Russia hoaxer Swalwell, who began serving in the United States House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence as a ranking member of its Central Intelligence Agency subcommittee in 2015. Well, I wonder why a Chinese spy would want to get an in on Eric Swalwell. Maybe she thought this guy knew some sensitive information that she might be able to get out of him via some pillow talk. Yes, very fun. It goes on. Reports from a political operative and intelligence official indicate that Fang raised millions for Swalwell's re-election in 2014 and helped place at least one intern in his Washington, D.C. office. Oh my God. Very fun, Eric Swalwell. Here's the thing about it. In a healthy democracy, this guy would be finished. He'd be done. He'd be out of office right now. But no, not today. He's a Democrat in California. He's immune.
Hell, he'll win re-election in a landslide.
No shit. Of course he will. Well, there's no question that he's going to win re-election. He's going to continue in office. And the article goes down for quite a bit, but I think we got the gist of what it's going on about. Chinese spies sleeping their way to gaining valuable information on the United States and passing it on to their handlers in China. Very, very fun stuff going on there. And Mr. Gun Control Swalwell is all about that shit.
Yep.
Yeah. You gotta love it. You gotta love this nonsense. Anyway, we got more stuff to talk about. How about this story coming out of, where is it? Cornell University. Yes. You wanna talk about this one?
Oh God, it's another. There's a lot of stories like this. If you word it a slightly different way, it takes on a completely different meaning. This is like these. So University has recently mandated flu vaccines for their students, but they also built in exemptions. Any what they call BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, or other people of color.
I think they just want to sound like Tupac.
Yeah, I know. Like BIPOC either sounds like a Star Wars villain or like a West Coast rapper. But so they built in these exemptions, Black, Indigenous, or other people of color, because reasons. I guess they're thinking of things like the Tuskegee syphilis experiments and the other.
They specifically mentioned those in their reasoning. But here's the thing:
these things that happened 80 years ago that none of these kids were alive for.
Shit, this stuff happened back in the 1930s. Most of their parents weren't alive for that. Most of their grandparents weren't alive for that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that is we're talking like what, 90 years. It's a long time ago. And here's the thing: isn't this kind of an anti-vax statement? Isn't it like vaccines are important? Vaccines are vital. We need to vaccinate in order to stop the spread of disease. Unless you're Black, then you're good. You don't need a vaccine. What do you mean? We really don't need you to do it. Like, you could word this to be straight up anti-black racism. Like we don't want, like we're gonna make sure all the white students are safe from the flu.
Right.
But
right.
if you're black, we don't care enough to make it mandatory. We're gonna let you just make up your own mind.
Right, that's what I was getting at when I said if you word it slightly differently, it becomes some straight up racism. It's you know it said that vaccines, but only for the white people. If you kind of flipped it on its head a little bit and said that that it's the same thing with these safe spaces for people of color on college campuses. If you tweak the justification for it just slightly, it's segregation. But because this is a space that's reserved, a safe space for people of color, instead of this is a space that for the people of color to be out of the way. It's like it's horseshoe theory, full circle, right back around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually found, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, I found Cornell's, their statement on this, what they had to say about this issue. So it starts off with how they're mandating that their students receive a flu vaccine. And I mean, this is not completely unknown. I mean, we were both in the military. I'm sure the Army required that you guys get flu vaccines as same as I did. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're in the military, you get so many needles stuck in your arm that it doesn't even phase you anymore. I mean, I think we talked about how many anthrax shots we both got. And for some reason, they always lose your goddamn chart. It's like, oh, they can't just be like, oh, we lost your chart. Oh, well, it's, oh, we lost your chart. You need to get every single vaccine again, just in case.
Yep.
Just in case.
Tetanus,
but yeah.
And MMR and hepatitis and all the other shit. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm immune to shark AIDS at this point.
I mean, probably. There's only one way to find out.
No thanks.
Okay, so yeah, they want all their students to get a flu vaccine so that they don't put an undue burden on local hospital systems. Like I guess the reasoning is that if people aren't in hospitals for the flu, they aren't taking up room that could go to COVID patients. Like, I guess that's the reasoning they're going here with for mandating that their students get vaccinations for the flu. I mean, never mind, of course, that if you're in college, you're probably not going to the hospital with the flu anyway. I mean, have you ever known anybody of college age to go to the hospital because they caught the flu? I mean, like, catching the flu wasn't even grounds for not going out and partying. Much less going to the hospital. Like when I was in the military, people would like, oh man, I'm feeling down. Take a shot. Yep. All right, let's go. Let's go party. I mean, that was the attitude.
Yeah, like when I got really sick in the military, I just switched from beer to hard liquor because I'm like, I'm going to chase whatever this is out of me. I'm going to make it regret infecting my body.
make it an example for all the other flu viruses running around out there. Make sure that they know not to fuck with me.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that whiskey kills viruses.
Right. Take that. You can't kill me if I kill me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they'll still count it as a COVID death, but at least you know that you died of alcohol poisoning.
Yep.
All right, so they go on about how they don't want to overtax, and then their second paragraph goes like this. It says, a history of mistreatment and lack of access for appropriate care. We recognize that due to longstanding systemic racism and health inequalities in this country, individuals from some marginalized communities may have concerns about needing to agree to such requirements. Now, first of all, if the problem that they're having is that they historically did not have access to health care, such as vaccines. Why is that therefore reasoning to exempt them from their mandatory vaccinations? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. But then again, I'm not one of these academics that has to, talk out of my ass, out of both sides of my mouth.
Yeah. Because this is beyond woke. This is advanced woke.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of back when Oregon was implementing a mask mandate, and they only mandated it at first for white people. Like, do you remember this? We talked about this on the show. It's like they implemented a mask mandate, but only for white people, because if you're black, we don't care if you catch COVID, apparently.
Yeah, the justification was that a man in a mask is automatically going to be assumed to be a criminal. And I'm just like, ooh, that's a pretty hot take.
Like, guys, we know what you think when you see a black man in a mask, because I'm thinking it too. Obviously, they're going to rob you. So we're going to let them not wearing a mask, just so that I don't have to make that assumption. I'm not.
No. We don't assume that a black man in a mask is automatically a criminal. Those racist supporters will, and they might shoot him or something.
No, we're just going to assume that all other white people make that assumption. Yeah. And that's obviously not a racist statement, because it's derogatory towards white people. And you can't be racist towards white people or some bullshit like that. All right, so where did I leave out? All right, it goes on. For example, historically, the bodies of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, BIPOC, there you go. There's your acronym, have been mistreated and used by people in power. Okay, let's stop there. Used by people in power. Are you talking about yourselves? Are you suggesting that you are attempting to use the bodies of BIPOCs? Because if not, I don't see how that's at all relevant here.
Yeah.
Like, in the past, people have mistreated Black people by doing shady shit. So we're just we're going to act as though we're also doing that, so that you don't have to abide by the same rules that everybody else does.
Try to make sense of it, because you're only going to give yourself an aneurysm or something.
I gotta keep reading some of this, because it keeps going. It is understandable that the current compact requirements may feel suspect or even exploitative to some BIPOC members of the Cornell community. Now, why just them? Like, if it feels, I'm sure it feels kind of exploitative to mandate flu vaccinations to, I don't know, non-BIPOCs too. But why doesn't that matter? Why is it just if a Black person is feeling exploited by these rules, that matters? But if some white kid where he's like, I don't really feel comfortable with this, then at that point it's like, oh, shut the fuck up. It's mandatory. You have to do it.
Tough shit, honky. Come get your...
It's such a weird fucking story, dude. I couldn't believe it when you brought it to my attention that, this university is mandating vaccines only for white people. It's so weird. It's so absolutely bizarre. And I can't imagine that it would survive a legal challenge, because, this is blatant, systemic racism. That's what this is. There's no arguing that isn't what this is.
Yep.
So, a legal challenge would probably overturn it, but fuck, who knows? This crazy world we live in, I guess you never know.
Who knows, man? Everything's all topsy-turvy here in Clown World. And before we move on to the next story, I just want to say that I have had it about up to here with this trend of these woke articles and these woke all this other shit using the phrase black and brown bodies. It's like,
it's weird. Like, are we talking about corpses? What are bodies?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is there some type of a separation between the person and the body? Is this some type of
it's woke
metaphysical Yeah, woke metaphysics. Like I don't understand the verbiage here.
It certainly is very strange.
Is the word people too much to ask? Humans? Individuals?
No, they're not humans. They're BIPOCs.
Yeah, okay.
But you got to understand that BIPOCs are the specials.
Yeah.
No, actually, they're not the specials, which is why they have to be treated like the specials because they lack the privilege.
Something like that.
I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't think it makes sense to them, which is why they're always turning on each other. Because it's impossible to keep all these rules straight in your head and not offend somebody.
Right, and you don't want to drag around a whiteboard everywhere you go, like moving magnets and lines around. You're going to look like Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the like, it's like this is the map of where woke is at today.
Black indigenous people of color. It is just BIPOC.
That's you, man. You can be the official Roads to Liberty BIPOC ambassador.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bob. I don't think I want to be a BIPOC ambassador. That sounds fucking terrible. That sounds like peak clown world. And speaking of peak clown world, have you heard that the new Cyberpunk 2077 is apparently the worst thing ever?
Oh, yeah. I read that article that you sent. Not only was it unnecessary,
So dumb, dude.
unintentionally, it was also unintentionally hilarious. And I'm just sitting there like, is real.
Like it doesn't even make sense. Like they're apparently what they're mad about, or like the first thing they're mad about, because like when you create a character, you can create them in any way you want, including making them a trans character, which you'd think trans people would be all fine with. But no, see, the problem is that if you're a male character, you have a deep voice, and a female character has a high-pitched voice, and that doesn't change. And that makes this the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
Boo on you, Keanu Reeves video game. You didn't change the voices. Fuck you. You owe me money.
Yeah, amongst other things, but the thing about the Cyberpunk 2077 game, and I don't know too much about it. It looks like something that I might be interested in down the line, but right now I got my hands full with other video game projects. The thing about it is yeah, and a baby. It is an exploration of transhumanism taken to its inevitable end. So when these people are trying to frame this game that is literally about people who are swapping body parts more, trying to frame it in the lens of modern day medical science or whatever the hell it is that transgenderism is, it's completely irrelevant and completely it just doesn't make any sense at all, because the thing that makes the offensive advertisements, like you sent me that one that's like a very traditionally attractive female with exaggerated curves and a big old dick.
Not just a big old dick. I mean, this thing came like halfway up to your nipples.
Right. It's like it's
a fucking gigantic dick.
Yeah. The thing that makes that.
I think I just found the name for this week's episode.
Yeah, big old dick. But the thing about these offensive advertisements in the context of that game is that the people in this dystopian transhumanist future are able to become that at a whim. Somebody who's trans has to go through years of hormone therapy and permanently altering plastic surgeries, and even then it's really a good facsimile of a transition from male to female or female to male. But in this game, it's thing that people just kind of take for granted. It's like, oh, I want to have a dong today, and not just any dong, but like a 2-foot long beer can girth Troyer dong. And it's just like, go down to your local shop, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Here's your huge jungus.
It's. I mean, one of the complaints is that they're fetishizing trans people, but like, full disclosure, I haven't played this game. I haven't played video games in years because I just don't have time for them anymore.
Make time, sir.
I'm not gonna
make time.
I'm not gonna be one of those dudes that sit here and goes, "Oh, video games, such a waste of time." Not gonna. I would play video games if I didn't have to sleep. Right? Like, I would. I like video games. I just don't have time for them. There's other things I'd like to do more than playing a video game. Right? But yeah, so I haven't played this game. I won't play this game. One of the complaints they have about this game is that, oh, they're fetishizing trans people. It seems to me that they're fetishizing a whole lot of shit in this game.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we're going to single out trans people and fetishize them. Like, this is dystopia.
Yeah.
Right? This whole thing is supposed to be, we don't like this shit. This is horrible, awful, evil shit. That's like the whole point, right?
And I think that the thing that they're making the most hay about here is that in Cyberpunk 2077, because the ability to like swap out who you are at a moment's notice is so easy and so accessible, I think that at some level they're just pissed off because they think light of the current day struggles that somebody suffering with gender dysphoria has in order to make themselves into whatever.
Adam down in the comments goes, tabletop games are better than video games. I agree with that. I used to do some Warhammer 40K back in the day. That was a lot of fun until I realized this is a lot of money, not worth it anymore. Now I just do board games, which I prefer to video games, quite frankly. NC Hurricane Hunter goes, imagine losing consciousness because all the blood went to your 2-foot-long beer can dong.
Hey, there's worse ways to go.
I guess so. You just lose your balance, though. Can you imagine trying to balance yourself with that thing hanging off of you?
Yeah, see, Carl brings up an excellent point that Ghost in the Shell was the same concept, and also Altered Carbon. Now that's a good show that's on Netflix. They just had the second season released a few months ago, and it's even more so than just swapping out body parts. It's like people jumping into completely different bodies because you put your entire brain on a chip in the back of your neck, and at basically a moment's notice you can put yourself in any other body that you can be a woman, you could be a robot, you could be fucking anything, and
you can be a giraffe with the giant dong.
Yep.
That's what you want to be.
It's a trippy ass show, and you really have to pay attention because characters will change to a completely different actor or actor.
Now that sounds weird. I don't want that.
Yeah,
sounds like it'd be hard to keep up with.
It is. You got to really pay attention.
I've been watching. You ever watched The Expanse?
I love that show.
Are you caught up on it?
I think so.
Oh, dude, I watched the first season of that show, and then I went out and read all the books. Dude, the next arc is the best arc in the series. Like I'm telling you, in the book series, every 2 books, the world completely changes, right? Because like in the first 2 books, it's Mars, Earth, and the Belt before the ring, right? And then after the ring activates, then the next 2 books are the world with the ring. And then the next big event happens, which I'm not going to ruin because it's fucking insane, changes everything after that. And then 2 books later, another crazy event happens, which changes the whole world all over again. So I love it because most of the time because it's 8 books, there's going to be a 9th one, right? And most of the time when a series goes on for that long, authors start treading water and it gets really fucking boring. Like, just stop it already. You don't need to keep doing this. But when you completely change the entire world every 2 books, it keeps things interesting.
Keeps it fresh.
Keeps it fresh, and I can't wait for the next story arc to start because it's going to be fucking fantastic. And Scuba Guy Osen says the expansion jumped the shark as soon as they landed on the distant planet. I agreed. That was the weakest part of the book series too. That other planet with the green goo in your eye. Yeah, that was the weakest part. I agree. You were right about that. But it gets fucking insane after they leave that planet. I promise. It'll be great. Just keep watching. What were we even talking about? Oh, we were talking about cyberpunk and how the trans community is claiming that it's violence against it. That's the thing that really annoys me about these things. It always has to be, it's violence. It's violence. It's causing actual real life harm. Like, I guarantee you it's not. I guarantee you no trans people were harmed in the making of this video game. Not a single one. And the only harm being done is your fragile sensibilities being offended, right? It's all in your head. That's it. That is the sole place where harm is being done. It's you doing it to your own brain. Yeah. It's you are choosing to care about petty nonsense like this instead of just enjoying a fun video game. So I don't have any sympathy for petty bullshit like that. Yep. Grow up. Stop being a child.
Yep. Stereotypes in video games and spicy tweets are violence, but violence isn't violence if it's done for the correct reasons.
No, not at all. Oh, I forgot to mention that this Cornell University, they had a 10-person limit in gatherings, but specifically exempted Black Lives Matter protests. Because, wokeness and all that. Viruses don't infect the woke. We all know this. This is a well-known fact of reality. And if you can't get over that, you're a bigot. Shut the fuck up. All righty. I think that's all the topics that we wanted to talk about. Hey, Ben, if you're listening, do you want to bring up the Roads to Liberty store so we can show off some of our fine stuff? Remember, guys, we sell merchandise for this show, too, at roads2liberty.com. That's roads2liberty.com. We have a whole line of merchandise for you guys to check out. You're going to love it. We got shirts. We got mugs. All the best stuff for you Roads to Liberty fans coming up on Christmas. Here's the War is Peace, Freedom is Slavery shirt. That's one of my favorites. You got the red igloo for our book boys out there. They all the book boys love living in igloos. I don't understand the appeal of it. It seems kind of cold and chilly, but what are you gonna do? You got boot girl, a Hawaiian girl holding up an AR-15. She's ready for the upcoming boot. She's got her night vision goggles going on there. She's prepared, as all of you should be as well. So remember to go to roads2liberty.com and check out that merchandise. And if you want to see other episodes of this podcast, go to think-liberty.com and check out the full roster of Roads to Liberty and Think Liberty episodes. Whole bunch of stuff up on the network. And remember to subscribe to the Think Liberty podcast anywhere podcasts are found. I think that's it for us tonight. Hobbs, you got anything else to say before we wrap this thing up?
No. Baby's over here crying. So I think it's about time to call her a night.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday night on another live episode of the Token and Hobbs Show.